Good morning, everybody. Just before we start this session, I'd like to indicate that part of the session is going to be given in French. So you will need to download the Interactio translation app to your phone. There is on the path, the files path in Pathable, a description how to do this, and we've also added something into the chat. So please do so before the speaker from the Niger Basin starts. Okay, so welcome and thank you very much for joining this Water Week session on building climate resilience through rain-fed agriculture. My name is Charles Reeve. I'm the team leader for the UK government-funded Climate Resilient Infrastructure Development Facility, which operates across Southern Africa. I would like to also acknowledge the other conveners of this session, that is SIWI, the Stockholm International Water Institute, the World Agroforestry Centre, and the Zambezi Watercourse Commission. I'm sure we all appreciate the importance of rain-fed agriculture. 95% of agricultural land in Africa and cultivation is through rain-fed agriculture, with 85% of stable food crops coming from rain-fed agriculture. But of course, we also appreciate the importance of water to that rain-fed agriculture, and particularly recently the impact of climate change on water availability and the increasing variability of rainfall and water availability for rain-fed agriculture. Certainly in the project I manage, CRIDIF, a large part of our work has been around the provision of infrastructure for distributed small-scale storage that is used to enhance rain-fed agriculture, and especially to provide water during the increasingly frequent dry spells that are occurring during the rainy seasons in Southern Africa. I think it's also important to note the importance of climate services to provide vital up-to-date information to those involved with agriculture, whether that be predictions of rainfall or temperatures that will influence them in their agricultural practices. Now, in this session, we will see how rain-fed agriculture can be enhanced to better support livelihoods, enhance food security, and build climate resilience. Examples will be given by the co-conveners, and we also have a very interesting presentation from the Niger Basin Authority in West Africa. Just before I hand over to the session moderator, I'd like to point you in the direction of a session tomorrow, that is Thursday at 2 p.m, on improving livelihoods for the poor to build climate resilience. This session is also co-convened by CRIDIF and SIWI and will provide further evidence of the importance of livelihoods in building climate resilience for the poor. So now let me hand over to the session moderator. Professor Bansi Mati is a leading expert in land and water management. She is professor at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm sure you'll agree it would be difficult to find a better qualified person to guide us through this extremely interesting session. I will close here. Thank you very much again for joining. I wish you a productive, interesting, and exciting session. I'll now hand over to Professor Mate. Professor, over to you. Thank you very much. Professor, you're still muted.
Thank you, Charles, for that wonderful presentation of what is lying ahead, and also for introducing me. My role is very simple, is that of taking us all through this process of the conference, so that at the end of it, we all learn and we all gain and we all interact. We have lined up for you, or for all of us, 3 major presentations and 2 what I would call 2 minor ones, because the 3 major presentations are what you're seeing on your screen, which is the Zambezi Watercourse Commission presentation by Yves Van Skaseke on Livelihood Support Program. Then the second presentation will be on transforming investments in African rainfed agriculture, Tiara initiative, by 2 presenters. Lidi and Malesu. And the third one will be the lessons from multinational program for integrated development and adaptation to climate change in Niger Basin, PDAC program by Pascal, that's the one which will be in French. Then we have panel discussion. The panel discussion has all the 4 presenters plus 2 invited presenters. The 2 invited presenters are Leno Kambul, from Okavom, who will talk about conservation of rainfed agriculture activities in Angola. And then there will also be Sekongwa Matsumi, who will talk from the Nature Conservancy, who will talk briefly about the innovations in financing mechanisms for water funds and trust funds. The work the TNC is doing in terms of funding activities for climate change. So we welcome them, but before that, before we hit the ball rolling, I would like to mention a few things also about how we conduct the meeting. We all be muted, we all listen, and then if and when we have a question, you don't have to wait till the end of the session. Feel free to go to the chat and address that question, that concern, even that contribution. If you have a contribution, the chat is there for us to interact quietly while the meeting is going on. If possible, address your specific concern or comment to the specific speaker, or leave it open. At the end of the session, we'll pick a few, not all, just a few cross-cutting ones, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of the discussion session. So without further ado, I want to call our first speaker, who is Evans Kaseve. He's a program manager, strategic planning for Zambezi Water Commission, which is ZAMCOM. Evans is a professional engineer whose experience with the water resources is the critical change agent for impactful uplifting of socioeconomic and environmental well-being of independent communities. He has been working since the 1980s. Currently, Evans specializes in partnerships formulation of strategic transboundary water course frameworks that guide investments into climate projects, such as the program we are talking about now, including in the Zambezi, including PDAC Zambezi, which is currently under coordination. So welcome, Evans.
Thank you, Professor Marty. Can I have my presentation on the board? Thank you. That is the title of my presentation. Here I've actually turned off my video just to make sure that the bandwidth is okay for me. I don't get cut out. So I will not take much of your time. The title of my presentation is Climate Extremes and the Importance of Rain-Fed Agriculture for Livelihood Support Programs under the program for PDAC Zambezi. And the outline of my presentation, next slide, please. Next slide. Is just touching on key characteristics of the Zambezi watercourse, the key challenges with respect to rain-fed agriculture, response by ZAMCOM to these challenges through frameworks that enable addressing the issues of rain-fed agriculture. Then livelihood support pillar, which is the one which is going to be guiding in the investments into livelihoods to support and rain-fed agriculture. Next slide. The key characteristics of the Zambezi watercourse are that it is an intergovernmental organization, the Commission, whereby there are 8 countries that actually, 8 riparian countries that share the watercourse. And in this case, there are the republics of Angola, Botswana, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, United Republic of Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And on this particular slide, worth of note is the mean annual runoff of over 200 billion cubic meters. And this is a critical variable that actually guides investments into water-related activities within the basin. And what we have to take note of is there are over 40 million people that are dependent on this water and its activities. And we should actually take note of the situation that it's not only the human population, there is the environment, there is the wildlife that are also dependent on this water. Next slide, please. The key challenges in this in the water course are actually also in the strategic plan for the Zambezi water course. There are issues of poverty, persistent poverty, environmental degradation, disaster risk related to climate change, infrastructure deficit, whether it's a small scale, medium scale, large scale. Then also there's a challenge, competing uses of water, mining, urban, agriculture, hydropower. All those are issues that are obtaining in the Zambezi water course. And with respect to rainfed agriculture, perennial poor crop yields, low incomes, poor nutrition. And to the right, there's also the map which shows the average rainfall in the water course. And worth of note is the low rainfall, particularly in the middle Zambezi. And this is exacerbated by climate change. Next slide, please. The Zambezi Watercourse Commission actually responded to, as a first response to these challenges, was the development of frameworks through which investments have to be made to address the issue of the issues of, particularly in this case, rainfed agriculture. And the first framework, that's the climate-proofed strategic plan for the investment, a strategic plan for the Zambezi watercourse. And the core components of this strategic plan are infrastructure investment, livelihood support, which will be the key entry pillar for rainfed agriculture investments, environmental resources protection and utilization, water resources management. So those are the key pillars that will guide investments into rainfed agriculture within the watercourse. And there is now development of an investment implementation plan through those particular 4 pillars: building communities' resilience, strengthening integrated landscape management, supporting adaptive capacity and institutional capacity development, coordination and program management. Those are the key pillars through which development of an investment program is going to be done. And rainfed agriculture will also channel its investments through those pillars. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. With respect to this slide, what I would like to emphasize is that a lot of work was done actually during the preparation of the strategic plan for the Zambezi watercourse. And in this case, Zamcom partnered with CREDIF to delineate vulnerable areas. These are critical hotspots, where poverty is rampant and where also livelihoods are actually going to benefit from targeted investments. And what I just want to emphasize with respect to all these hotspots is that they were validated by stakeholders in the watercourse, and they have been actually also redelineated into transboundary hotspots, whereby investments are going to be channeled. Next slide, please. And in conclusion, Zamcom has got an enabling multi-sectoral investment program, a framework, and for rainfed agriculture. And this environment which enables investment into rainfed agriculture are characterized by transboundary cooperation among member states. Here we've got the agreement for the Zambezi watercourse, as well as the other agreements that are at the SADC level. Then cooperating partnerships for coordinating transboundary investment projects and programs. Then broad-based multi-sectoral stakeholder, PDAC Zambezi, Member States Implementation Committee. These are actually stakeholder committees that will enable development programs to be validated and implemented within the watercourse. Then within the watercourse as well, there's political willingness in support of climate-proofed multi-sectoral investments, and in this case, rain-fed agriculture. Next slide, please. This last slide, what it just illustrates is that conservation rain-fed agriculture is actually being implemented in a number of countries. Angola has got a program which is being supported by USAID, and then countries like Namibia, Zimbabwe, and where investments are actually being channeled into rain-fed agriculture. So for the program, which is going to be formulated on rain-fed agriculture, there's a base on which it will actually be based on, and with ZAMCOM providing the regional framework for that investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Evans.
Professor Mati.
Okay. Thank you, Evans, for a very good presentation. I should add that all these presentations will be shared after this webinar. At the same time, we are expecting you to be to continue typing your questions on the chat, to raise the question. It's those questions we find on the chat, which we are going to throw to the panelists and which will be answered. So we will go to the Q&A, as we said, at the very end. So we keep that for now. We are not going to ask questions on ZAMCOM for now. The next presentation is by both Lidi Menuo and Malesu Maibo. Lidi is from SIWI and Malesu is from C4 ICRAF. This presentation is on transforming investments in African rainfed agriculture, which in short is called Tiara Initiative. Lidi is an enthusiast. First of all, Lidi is an independent consultant with the Stockholm Water Institute, and formerly she used to work there as an investment officer. Lidi is an enthusiastic investment professional with 14 years of experience supporting projects and initiatives that matter. That's how she puts it. Meaning projects and initiatives that participate to more resource efficient and more inclusive society. She started her career at the Agence Française de Développement, that is AFD, and Lidi has been a long-term consultant for SIWI for 2 programs, which aim to transforming investments in the water sector in Africa. Welcome, Lidi. I think I'll read the citation for Malesu when we are introducing him. Thank you. Lidi.
Okay, thank you, Professor Mati, and I'm very happy to be part of the panel today. So let's start with the facts. Agriculture and water in Africa. So in Africa, we've got the lowest crop yield and agricultural productivity in the world. That's a fact. Water is a very high constraint. There's a problem of scarcity and variability, which is aggravated by climate change. We know it. But interestingly, what we might not know is that most of the production, agricultural production in Africa, is from rain-fed agriculture, is what is rain-watered. And when I say most, we're talking about 95%. So if we want to increase the productivity and better the food security on the continent, we should be focusing on rain-fed agriculture, as it's got a lot of potential. But interestingly, on this slide on the right, you will see that most of the investment, and we're talking about public investment, has been focusing on irrigation so far. So why is that? Next slide, please. So the current reality is that there's many challenges. of which the first one is the lack of knowledge and acceptance about enhanced rainfed agriculture. When we say enhanced agriculture, rainfed agriculture, we're talking about practices and techniques that allow rainfall to produce more, to be more efficient. The second reason is about the limited leadership and also ineffective policies to support. Many governments have tried to support more rainfed agriculture and have seems to fail so far. And the last one, which is always about money, there has been a lack of access to finance and investment into the sector. Because what we need to know is that when we talk about rainfed agriculture, we're talking about smallholder farmers who struggle to get access to finance. So this is where our initiative, the CIWI initiative, comes into the picture. It's called TIARA, and it stands for Transforming Investment in African Rainfed Agriculture. That's a Pan-African initiative which focuses on promoting more investment into that sector by offering a platform for advocacy. And the expected outcome would be huge, of course. We're talking about poverty reduction, we're talking about inequalities reduction, we're talking about better management of natural resources. Next slide, please. So as part of our initiative TIARA, we've designed a component which is called TIARA Zambezi, which is focused on the Zambezi River Basin, that was presented before by Evans, and it was conceptualized based on the strategic plan for the Zambezi watercourse, which you can see on the slide on the right. It's got different components, of which one, which is called livelihoods, highlight the importance of rainfed agriculture to support population in the basin. So we have designed that component of our TIARA initiative based on the strategic plan of ZAMCOM. Next slide, please. Yeah. So our approach is quite simple. We've got 3 steps. The first one, which we are currently implementing, it's called Inception and Engagement. So from the hotspot analysis that was presented by Evans before, they've got 15 hotspots which were identified. We have selected 5 hotspots in that region, in that basin, where we would focus intervention. And when we say intervention, we would identify specific project, rainfed agriculture project that we think could have a high potential for upscale. And we also are identifying partners, local partners or international partners that are active in those hotspots, with the view to go to the second step, which is building business cases. So here we're talking about understanding how those project works, what's the cost and potential benefit associated to those projects for advocacy purpose. And the last step would be about building the skills and capacity around those projects to prepare for an upscale. I think I've said more or less what I wanted to say about that initiative. It's a 5-year initiative that started at the beginning of the year. We are partnering with different stakeholders, funders, technical partners, and institutional partners such as ZAMCOM. And if you want to have more information, you can go on the CIWI website. We've got all information about our program TIARA, and you can also contact me. And also, if your institution, your organization is interested in partnering with us on this amazing initiative, please reach out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think the next part of it, we are going to have the part 2 presented by Mr. Maibo Malesu. Maibo is a country representative for Zambia in the Transformative Partnership Platform, which was TPP, and also he works with the C4 ICRAF. He is an agricultural engineer with 32 years experience of practical experience managing complex and multidisciplinary government and donor-funded programs and projects implemented at district, provincial, national, regional, and cross-regional levels. Engineer Malesu is the C4 is the CGIR for forestry and ICRA for the agroforestry leader for optimizing rainwater use in rainfed agriculture in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Welcome, Malesu.
So thank you, Professor Mati, for the introduction. And My presentation is quite short, and I would like to take this opportunity to invite participants who are interested in joining us in the transformative partnership platform that in short I call the TPP for optimizing rain-fed agriculture in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So as mentioned by my colleagues who presented earlier, C4ICRAF is actually providing technical expertise to enhance rain-fed agriculture in the Tierra Zambezi through the promotion of regenerative agriculture, rainwater harvesting, conservation agriculture, and agroforestry. So in doing so, we have been working very closely with SIWI in the process of identifying hotspots that would be used for developing case studies and also for encouraging partnerships and co-investments in scaling up rain-fed agriculture in the Zambezi River Basin. So what we are saying about this initiative is that it does not only end with Africa, but we are also working as ICRAF, C4ICRAF, we work in Asia as well as Latin America. So being a research organization, we have the capacity to generate scientific data which can be used for cross-continental learning. And ultimately, we are looking at developing a mega program that can be implemented across the continents and help us to really mitigate climate change and also look into the issue of food security. So if you look at the picture that we have in the slide, you can see here that this picture was taken from Zambia, and Zambia is one of the countries that leads in conservation agriculture, having more than 250,000 smallholder farmers practicing conservation farming. So this has been tested, and what we have found is that the enhancement of rain-fed agriculture can actually triple the current yield, which is very, very low. When you look at the rain-fed agriculture currently, they are producing just almost like a ton per hectare per year. So this can be enhanced 3 or even 4 times. And when combined with agroforestry, especially with Phaidebia albida, we've seen that you can actually grow, increase the production even further. So therefore, we are appealing to those who are present today and who would like to join the partnership to please get in touch with myself, and also at SIWI, you can get in touch with Lidi so that we can explore the possibility of creating this partnership and also enabling that all the investors that would be interested in investing in rain-fed agriculture can come on board. And in doing so, we are very confident that we can improve livelihoods, not only in Africa, but across the entire globe. So with that, thank you so much. Back to Professor Mati.
Thank you, Malesu, for a very quick presentation. The next presentation is the one which is now going to be in French. And I think you have been explained that the translation is not available on our laptops. So for us to listen to the translation, we need to be on mobile phone and with earphones. So that's a bit of technology there. You have to upload the link, which was interaction.or onto your phone, and then you listen there. Otherwise, the presentation, you can also follow from the presentation in English, but the audio will be in French. Without further ado, let me introduce Pascal Nakonkun, who is going to present a paper on lessons from multinational program for integrated development and adaptation to climate change in the Niger Basin. This program, in short name, is called PIDA. Pascal is currently working as an expert in integrated water resources management PDAC at the Niger Basin Authority. Before joining ABN, he worked in Burkina Faso for 9 years as head of National Hydrological Service, and then 5 years as Director of Studies and Information on Water Resources in Burkina Faso. Please welcome Pascal. Pascal, it's your time.
Ok, merci professeur Mati. Je suis très heureux donc de vous présenter voilà, les travaux que nous faisons au niveau donc, de l'ABN qui portent sur le renforcement de la résilience et de façon plus rapide, voilà, et de tous les habitants en fait des écosystèmes et autres donc du bassin du Niger. Alors ma présentation se porte sur 3 points essentiels. Et d'abord, je vais vous faire une présentation du bassin du Niger. Voilà, c'est l'espace dans lequel nous travaillons. Et on va voir à travers ce premier point aussi les approches que l'ABN initie pour l'agriculture pluviale. Et comme on le sait, 80% donc, des activités agricoles sont portées par l'agriculture pluviale. En deuxième position, je vais vous parler d'un fonds que nous comptons mettre en place pour une certaine autonomisation des financements des activités donc, de l'ABN. Et en dernière position, donc, je vous parlerai donc du retour d'expérience que nous pouvons avoir, que nous avons eu au niveau de l'ABN concernant donc l'agriculture pluviale. Et next slide. Alors, au niveau de la présentation donc, du bassin du Niger, il faut savoir que c'est un bassin qui est très grand. Le fleuve Niger est le 3e donc, fleuve en Afrique après le Nil et le Congo, et qui s'étale sur une superficie donc, de 1 500 000 km². Et c'est partagé donc par 9 pays, les 9 pays qui sont donc le Bénin, le Burkina Faso, le Cameroun, la Côte d'Ivoire, et la Guinée, le Mali, le Niger et le Nigeria. Alors, il faut dire aussi que c'est un bassin qui compte une population d'environ 160 millions d'habitants, et dont 64% vivent dans le milieu rural. Alors, next. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on a constaté? Que le bassin, ces 40 dernières années, connaît une dégradation sans précédent. Et c'est ce qui explique, il y a d'ailleurs la raison pour laquelle les gouvernants donc, des 9 pays ont décidé de prendre le taureau par les cornes afin de prévenir, en tout cas, une catastrophe qui pourrait advenir si on ne prend pas de décisions. Alors, et pour cela, l'ABN avec donc les différents partenaires qui sont donc la Banque africaine de développement, voilà, et ont initié donc un projet, voilà, pour améliorer la productivité donc de l'agriculture. Et c'est un programme qui s'inscrit dans les objectifs donc de la banque, voilà, et c'est-à-dire que nourrir l'Afrique. Et c'est un programme qui est très ambitieux et qui a été confié donc à l'ABN et pour sa mise en œuvre. Alors, next slide. Le suivant. Alors, comme je l'ai dit, le programme TAT, voilà, c'est les technologies donc, pour l'agriculture africaine. Voilà, permet donc de mettre en œuvre effectivement et ce grand programme donc, de la Banque africaine de développement, voilà, et qui est nourri l'Afrique. Il est attendu de ce programme que d'ici les années 2025, et que l'Afrique puisse, pourquoi pas, être un grand exportateur donc, de céréales, voilà, à travers le monde. Donc, c'est ce qui est attendu, c'est vraiment une ambition et que nous croyons que ça pourrait être une réalité, voilà, avec ce programme. Alors, le suivant, next slide. Next, please. Alors, comme je le disais, c'est un programme très ambitieux et nous trouvons que ce programme pourra permettre effectivement d'accroître la production de 120 millions de tonnes d'ici l'année 2025 et d'atteindre 40 millions donc, de bénéficiaires. Voilà. Et donc, nous nous attelons à ça dans le cadre donc, du PIDAC et nous allons donc mettre en œuvre donc, ce programme jusqu'à l'horizon 2025 et puis voir les résultats que ça va nous donner. Alors, à part donc le deuxième point que je voudrais vous partager avec vous, il s'agit du Fonds régional d'adaptation au changement climatique. Alors, comme vous le savez, de plus en plus, les partenaires commencent à se raréfier. Voilà. Et donc, nous avons trouvé que si nous-mêmes, nous ne déployons pas des propres initiatives pour avoir un financement autonome donc, des activités du bassin, alors lorsque les partenaires vont se retirer, alors on aura donc pas mal de problèmes pour donc, le développement donc, de nos activités. Alors, pour cela, l'ABN compte mettre sur place un fonds voilà, qui va permettre donc, à l'ABN d'avoir un financement autonome pour pouvoir mettre en œuvre donc, ces activités. Et c'est ce que nous avons donc intitulé le Fonds national, le Fonds régional d'adaptation au changement climatique. Voilà. Et nous avons déjà mené des activités dans ce sens. Il y a un comité qui a été donc mis en place par le Conseil des ministres. Voilà. Et ce comité bientôt va donc sillonner tous les pays afin de pouvoir mettre une législation qui est acceptée par tous les pays afin de contribuer donc au financement donc de ce fonds. Le suivant. Next, please. Next slide, please. OK. Voilà, donc c'est toujours par rapport à ce fonds. Alors, dans ce fonds, quels sont les différents intervenants? Quels sont les différents types de fonds que nous attendons? Nous attendons donc 3 types de financement pour remplir ce fonds. Il s'agit donc des financements directs. Voilà, c'est ceux qui contribuent directement, ceux qui exploitent directement le bassin et qui vont financer aussi, vont contribuer au financement donc, de ce fonds. Il y a des financements que nous avons qualifiés d'indirects. Voilà. Et c'est ceux-là qui, voilà, d'une certaine façon, indirectement bénéficient aussi de l'exploitation des ressources. Et nous avons des contributions volontaires. Dans les contributions volontaires, voilà, nous avons les donations, les subventions. Nous allons compter aussi les partenaires techniques et financiers qui pourront aussi intervenir donc, dans ce troisième volet. Voilà. Alors, quelques exemples. Next slide, please. Quelques exemples donc de tous ceux qui vont fournir, qui vont contribuer au financement donc, de ce fonds. Voilà, nous avons donc les gros utilisateurs, voilà, et que sont les barrages, vous avez les périmètres irrigués, vous avez les mines, vous avez les travaux publics, et vous avez les grandes agglomérations, voilà, pour l'adduction en eau potable, etc. Voilà. Donc, next slide. Alors là, on vous montre un peu ce que nous avons entamé donc, comme travail dans le cadre de la mise en place de ce fonds. C'est la mise en place d'un comité voilà, qui va faire des missions et de plaidoyer et de sensibilisation au niveau des pays pour que les gens puissent adhérer effectivement au financement de ce fonds. Parce que c'est un fonds que nous trouvons qui est très important, qui va nous permettre d'avoir un financement autonome du bassin. Voilà, et cela va nous éviter d'être voilà, dépendants tout le temps donc, des partenaires extérieurs voilà, qui ont aussi leurs problèmes. OK. Next slide, c'est la dernière partie. Next slide, please, s'il vous plaît. Alors, le dernier point, c'est donc le retour d'expérience. Voilà, il faut dire que au niveau donc du programme PIDAC, nous n'avons pas en tant que tel un retour d'expérience d'abord sur l'agriculture pluviale, parce que le programme n'a commencé qu'il y a une année, voilà, 1 année et demie avec la COVID qui a ralenti un peu les activités. Voilà. Mais nous avons tenu à vous montrer quand même des expériences que la BN a eues au niveau donc, de l'agriculture pluviale. Vous avez ici un peu les aménagements de bas-fonds, voilà, pour permettre la culture de certaines céréales comme le riz, etc., qui ont été réalisés en Guinée. Donc, cette diapo-là montre un peu ces différentes réalisations et ces travaux que la BN a eu à faire au niveau donc, de la Guinée. Le suivant, je pense que je suis pratiquement à la fin de ma présentation. Alors, le suivant, next slide, please, s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît, la vidéo suivante. OK, je suis à la fin de ma présentation et je voudrais vous remercier pour votre attention. Voilà, merci.
Okay, that's it, Pascal. That's it, Pascal. Thank you, Pascal, for the presentation. We go to the next level. We go to the next level of this panel of this webinar, where we are going to listen to two of the panelists who have still not spoken. They will not necessarily have a PowerPoint presentation, but they will speak. The first one is Reno Kambuli of Okacom. That is Okavango Commission. And he is going to talk about conservation of rainfed agriculture activities in Angola. These are the activities that they are taking place in Angola in the Okavango Basin. Please welcome Reno. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to the Okacom, or the Permanent Okavango River Basin Commission, is a river basin organization established by the riparian states of Angola, Namibia, and Botswana. And like in any other river basin, climate resilience, food security, and socio-economic development is a major concern in all the river basins, including the Okavango. Through the Strategic Action Plan thematic area for livelihoods and socio-economic development, Okacom aimed to demonstrate environmentally sound socio-economic development in the basin. And conservation agriculture forms one of the demonstration projects that Okacom is implementing. And this one is particularly implemented in selected communities in Angola. And the project is funded by, among others, the UNDP, JEF, and then the EU, and implemented through the partnership with a local NGO in coordination with local government. We are targeting a total number of 32 conservation agricultural demonstration farmers. And our first step is to first demonstrate through community demonstration fields, which are established in the target communities. First, to build the capacity of the farmers, and then from there we can roll the program to individual household demonstration farmers fields. We so far have learned a number of things. That first of all, conservation agriculture requires strong institutional arrangements for adequate mentorship and access to farming inputs, especially seeds and organic matter for the farmers to time the rainfall is very critical. And then also that generally, organic matter is competed for by livestock, especially during the dry season. So the fields need to be fenced off so that we can protect the basins that the farmers have established, and also to retain organic matter to build fertility over a long time. And linking farmers to farmer markets and also improving access to technology can facilitate conservation agriculture adoption, especially on a large scale. So our next steps, having demonstrated at the community level, is that we want to implement conservation agriculture at household level, especially starting with the current season. And then also important is that we need to document lessons learned from which we can replicate the demonstration project across the basin, not only in Angola, but also in Botswana and in Namibia. By promoting sustainable livelihoods projects, especially, for example, conservation agriculture, is the only way we can protect the basin ecosystem services, that we can still derive the benefits that we get from that. So moving forward, OCACOM welcome partnerships to scale up conservation agriculture and other sustainable livelihood demonstration projects in the Okavango Basin. Thank you.
Thank you, Renho. Our next speaker is Sekogwa Motumi, who is from the Nature Conservancy. He will talk briefly about the innovative financing mechanisms and water funds and trust funds that the Nature Conservancy, in short called TNC, is involved in the region. TNC is seen as a major innovator in the area of funding ecosystems and funding water. Welcome, Sekongwa.
Thank you very much, Prof. Marty, and I'm happy to be part of this esteemed panel today. And just to say that, thank you for your introduction. The Nature Conservancy is an international, NGO, focusing on, conservation, and is operating in, more than 72 countries worldwide. And in Africa, we operate in 10 countries, and we've been in Africa for more than, 10 years so far. So thank you for this opportunity for the Nature Conservancy to share, what supporting activities we are implementing in the Okavango River Basin related to, of course, among others, building resilience of rain-fed agriculture. All these activities that my colleagues, have talked about require to build, resilience in, rain-fed agriculture systems under these changing climate conditions require, continuous flow of resources to support implementation. Lady really sort of pointed and emphasized the issue of funding as very critical for supporting these, activities. So with that in mind, and the work that, Reinhold talked about, TNC supported the riparian states to prepare, a value proposition, in essence, a business case, for investing in livelihoods and conservation, focused development through a mechanism called the COP Fund. A COP Fund is an innovative finance mechanism designed as a hybrid of both endowment and a sinking fund. And this is an initiative of the 3 member states, being Angola, Botswana, and Namibia. So we, supported the development of a business case. And the fund is an initiative that recognizes that poverty and environmental degradation are inextricably linked, and that the well-planned development and sustainable land use practices will protect critical natural resources and enhance the livelihoods of over 1 million people who directly depend on the basin's natural resources and the ecological services that they provide. So based on that, with our analysis, we realized that under a resilient development scenario, the COP Fund would make crucial investments in social and environmental interventions that protect the globally important biodiversity, build more resilient communities in the face of climate change, and promote the kinds of livelihoods and socioeconomic development that are articulated in the strategic action program that has been developed by the 3 member states. So the business case or the value proposition that we've prepared, demonstrates a clear economic basis for resilient development investments that blend lower impact ecological infrastructure investments, climate smart agriculture, tourism, and so forth, as well as other livelihood interventions with traditional well-sited conventional infrastructure in a way that through calculated trade-offs could optimize delivery of the desired development outcomes while safeguarding these vital ecological assets. And this is the infrastructure that Charles talked about at during his introduction. So the value proposition demonstrates a clear economic basis for investing in resilient development investments, and it shows that our results shows that over a 30-year analysis period, of which this business case was, the analysis was, focused. The funds socially, including climate smart rain-fed agriculture and environmentally focused intervention, would have a combined return on investment of 7 to 1, meaning that for every dollar spent on resilient development, communities in this important river basin will accrue $7 worth of benefits. So this work builds on the work that we've done in other geographies where we really invested in sustainable finance for all for this major resources and river basins that we operate in, and are important for both livelihoods and also for ecological conservation. So I just want to stop there in terms of introducing the work that we've been doing in supporting this important work. Thank you, Professor Mati. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Sekwangwa, for that presentation. Now we have just 8 minutes. 8 minutes are very few for us to answer your questions, which you have posted. Since, according to me, I've been every once in a while reminding our wonderful participants to post questions. We have one question here, other than the ones about the interpretation. How do we get national and provincial agricultural extension officers and departments to be part of the basin water management? My experience, the speaker's experience, not Mbansi's experience, is that they see that as a water department issue. And but here we are talking about other work. This is from Steve Collins. So what I would do is I will start with the one who spoke last, so that we in reverse order, and we listen to Evans answer this one, because I think all of you then after that I will summarize, because we really have only 7 minutes to finish. Evans, do you want to answer that, or do you want to pass it on to someone else? Evans? If not,
Prof,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at what's the question? I'm looking at
it's about people thinking departmentally. Let me try to unpack this the way I think the writer did. Summary, what I written here is my summary, is that all the presentations we have had have a regional. They are even not national. They are regional feel. But when we go back to where we work, people think not even at national level, not even at ministry level. They even think at the level of the department. One department may not know what the other department is doing. I think my interpretation. So we can ask maybe Malesu to answer that one also. I just chose Evans at random. If you are not ready, Malesu, are you ready?
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I can say something about that, Professor Mati. Currently, we have been looking at watershed management, for example, in 3 counties in Kenya, just as an example, Bungoma, Siaya, and Kakamega. And what we are seeing, when you look at the water resource user associations, although they are the land users who are doing farming within those catchment areas, there seems to be a disconnect between the county authorities and the water resource user authority. So the only way this gap can be narrowed is by deliberately planning together, and also ensuring that the plans that are generated by the county authorities at the local level incorporate the aspects of watershed management. Because watershed management, for instance, requires that you do conservation activities on your farm, that you incorporate agroforestry interventions on your farm to manage the water resource within any given catchment. So there is need for joint planning and constant, dialogue to ensure that we narrow that gap. Thank you.
So let me repeat. Thank you, Malesu. Any of the other panelists who would like to add something before I summarize? I will summarize in 2 minutes.
Prof, I would like to add from the Zambezi Water Course Commission.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, what we have done, in order to address this issue of, having a lot of departments, agencies, and, sectors to ensure that they come together. The Zambezi Watercourse Commission has got a stakeholders platform in each of the member states, whereby while the Ministry of Water is the executing agency, it has got the mandate to bring together all the other sectors, private, public, and NGOs. And as of now, that is the platform that we're actually operating through. We've got that kind of mechanism in place. Thank you.
Evans, there's one more question before I summarize, which is asking our initiatives which are already showing encouraging results such as TNE being involved in Zambezi work. This is from Len Abrams. You can still answer in, I'll try to finish in my 2 minutes. Quickly,
yes.
In 1 minute.
Could you repeat the question again? From Len Abrams. Prof, can you just repeat the question again?
I think time will not allow because you have to have a wrap up.
Okay.
You answer, it was about whether programs like TNE are being done in Zambezi work. Maybe you can answer later or you can answer on the chat.
Yes,
so
I can answer.
So that I have only 3 minutes to summarize and leave 1 minute for us to say goodbye to each other nicely. So I will not attempt to repeat what you have heard. First of all, we are going to share all the presentations with all the participants who took part. So this is a very short 1 hour, which in old days we take a whole day. So you have to really put things together. In summary, you must have seen that all the presentations were of regional nature. That here we are thinking regionally. We are not thinking of in-country, but we are thinking several countries, so Okavango Basin, Niger Basin, and even the Zambezi Basin. That across the board, issues of climate change and resilience came out very strongly. Across the board, all the regions mentioned need to fight poverty, need to improve food production, and even to combat land degradation, where water resource is a major center, and where we still believe we can do a lot under the rainfed agriculture space. The resource mobilization, and all the presentation had a very strong arm of resource mobilization, particularly financing. What are being known today as innovative finance or smart financing, where those who have finances to spare can actually facilitate actions on the ground. Nearly all the presentations also mentioned activities at the ground. What we say, thinking regionally, thinking globally, and acting locally. We saw a lot of acting locally. And then we saw also translation, especially the presentation from Niger. They even went to the level of translating some of their findings into policy and not just national policy at the regional level. Then another thing that has been mentioned is the need to prove business case before we throw money in. And I think that came across the board. And then we also heard that every $1 invested in the catchments, in the watersheds, in the poor, in the agriculture, yield $7 back. So I think that's a very powerful business case to take home. And I think with that, we are going to close the meeting unless the organizers have something to add other than what I've said. Back to Charles. Charles, please say something. Charles.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor, and thank you for your summary. Thanks everybody for such a successful session, and I wish you well for the rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed, and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone, for arriving. Thank you for listening through, and thank you for participating. We will keep in touch. Thank you, and bye. Have a good day.